Hello, my fellow wise ones and reawakeners on the spiritual psychic cosmic path. It's Psychic Cynthia here, and today I wanted to give you an overview of some of these energies that we are now experiencing as we open August. I'm filming this on Lionsgate, August 8th, 2026. Happy Lionsgate. And yes, I do observe Lionsgate. I know some people like to poo-poo on it and they like to dismiss it and say it's all made up and it's not relevant. That's just not true. And I used to think that way, okay? I hadn't looked into it. And really, if you haven't looked into something, you shouldn't be poo-pooing on it, okay? So I decided, rather than to poo-poo on it, to look into it. Look into the originations of Lionsgate. And also meditate on it. See if I notice and feel a difference in the energies. And I certainly do. Just on that basis alone, I can feel a shift. And yes, we love our double numbers in the modern world because there's power in the double numbers. We feel that. We know that intuitively. But it's more than that. If you look into the roots of Lionsgate, it's true that Lionsgate itself, the term is modern, but it harkens back to ancient Egyptian spiritual practices and calendaring, the cosmic cycles, the rising, the reappearance of the star Sirius. The Greeks called it the God star. To the Egyptians, it was Sobdet, a goddess of renewal, a very important goddess. She's part of a triad, like many of the Egyptian goddesses and gods. She gets to hang out with Isis. A lot of times she is kind of blurred with Isis. And then is she the daughter of, Osiris or someone else? I mean, it's kind of hard to know sometimes when we go this far back. And how far back are we talking? Into the age of Leo. I don't even know how many years that is. I'd have to calculate it because we're now starting the opposite age, the age of Aquarius. So it's a long time back. So yes, Lionsgate comes up out of a practice of witnessing the reemergence of the star Sirius, to whom the ancient Egyptians was Sobdet during the age of Leo, at least to start with. And then her practice goes on, and the Greeks kind of immortalized her by a different name, but they kept her going. So yes, we brought this forward, and this is a tremendous time, not just today, not just the day that we call August 8th, but if you go back to the ancient spiritual practice, what we know of it, you can just watch the star. The star is rising in different places. It hasn't risen here where I'm at yet. It hasn't reappeared because it's like behind the sun, okay? The other sun. Sirius is called the spiritual sun, by the way. So the estimate of when I'll be able to see it again here in my location in the center of the United States is between August 12th and August 15th. But I just have to get up and look with my binoculars to the east by southeast. So you can research online and see where the estimates are for the reappearance of the star in your location. It's just an estimate because, of course, a lot of it's going to depend on whether there's clouds and buildings and all of that. So, but we are awaiting the reappearance of the light of Sirius, and then we have Lionsgate today. So this is a big deal, okay? And I invite you to tune in to some of these energies I'm speaking of. And you'll notice I'm wearing some red today. And that has to do with the goddess Sobdet and her evolution later as she merges with Isis. And the red in the red stones, such as carnelian, or if you can find red glass, or, red, representing the blood of Isis. Because remember, she kind of mixes in with her later. And Sobdet herself, this personification of Sirius, her name means something like the sharp one. So something to think about. I think about that as on a lot of levels. It is good to be soft and it's good to be gentle. But, it's like the yin and yang. We need both. We need our soft and gentle curves and we need our sharp edges. And the sharpness, to me, has to do with the sword of the mind, okay? The cleansing, the cutting away of what is no longer needed in your life. Not physically, you don't have to go get a sword, okay? Understand what I'm saying here? But it is the spiritual removal, the cutting of cords, right? Knowing when to be sharp, when to be soft. In the modern world, we don't readily associate strength with femininity. But to the ancients, all of the goddesses, the Egyptians in particular, I mean, if you look at Sopdet, the goddess of this time, who is also associated with Sekhmet. Sekhmet was a badass, okay? If you don't know about Sekhmet, I mean, and I have invoked her a few times, and she's came to me. Now, Sekhmet was a lioness goddess, and if you don't know the mythology about her, I invite you to read on it, but mainly, and I would read on it first before you start tuning into her, because she's not a gentle energy. She's a very fierce lioness. And then we have Bast, who is the cat goddess. She is more gentle, more of a peacemaker, domestic. She brings harmony, but she wasn't always that way. She too went through a bloodthirsty time, and she stood up for justice. So, and there are other lioness and cat goddesses. I mean, have you had a cat or been around a female lion, a tiger, watched videos? Or, I mean, yes, they are nurturing. And yes, we all have, whether we are male or female, we have the nurturing divine feminine energy. But this is about the strength, the renewal of the light that partners with the nurturing. So don't be afraid to be strong and look at specifically, not only because of Lionsgate, but we're coming up on an eclipse in Leo. I'm going to get to that in a minute, so stay watching, or if you can't, come back real soon later. You're going to want to know about that. Because this Leo energy is about strengthening yourself. It's one thing for me to say, give yourself permission to be strong, and I am saying that. But I know some of you have gone through a time recently, a lot of us. We have gone through a time with all these recent energy shifts. I mean, my goodness, my goddess, we just came out of the post-retrograde shadow of Mercury, finally, on Thursday night, okay? Just a few days before I'm making this video. So we've gone through Mercury retrograde in the water signs, and in my opinion, that's the hardest. We've been having, Mercury retrograde in water signs this year, so the emotions have been really confused and draining. That's not fun, okay? Mercury retrograde's never fun, but in the water signs, it's particularly tough, I believe. So we just came out of that, and now we are in the pre-shadow of a solar eclipse. It will be on, let me check my notes, but I believe it's on the 12th. Yes, Wednesday, where I live at, yeah, in many places, most places on the globe, the technical date will be Wednesday, August 12th. And it looks like that's going to be, oh, my handwriting's not good, but it's going to be exact approximately 12:37 p.m. where I live in Central Daylight USA time, but you need to look for where you live. I mean, the thing is, regardless of what the precise moment of exactitude is, and you'll want to know that for your spiritual practices, like on that day, but building up to it, I mean, we are already experiencing the energies of this eclipse at 20 degrees in Leo, because things start to unravel a little. And there's the cosmic purposes to eclipses. They are disruptors. They are catalysts. They are cleansers. So if you've been feeling, a little disrupted, I mean, it could be that things are happening around you directly, not just in the world. And listen, don't get so caught up in the world all the time. I mean, you can care, but your nervous system was not meant, it did not evolve to know about every single problem in the world, or even half of the problems in the world. You know, pick one cause and care about that, okay? Right now, you can't be taking on a bunch of extra causes. I mean, unless you feel really strong already, and if you do, that's great, but you still want to maintain your strength. Um, and the best thing that you can do to help the world or to help your community or your family is to get your own stuff together spiritually, mentally, and physically. And yes, financially, that will help too. But you know, even if you don't have your own money, I mean, if you've got yourself together spiritually, financially, and mentally, you'll be able to attract all the abundance you need. You'll be able to attract whatever it is you need. Okay? So don't worry about that as much. I mean, yes, if you have financial problems, get out there and do what you need to do to hustle, or you know, maybe seek guidance. A lot of our financial issues, I mean, some of it is the economy, and some of it might be where we live, or you know, lack of education and all that. But more of it than you think relates to our own energy. And I'm not just talking about thinking positive. My abundance really started taking off. By the way, I've written a book about prosperity. I've studied it, and I came from very limited means, not into great wealth, but into abundance, into a life where I am more comfortable, let's just say. So I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the cycle of abundance. Of course, I don't know your story, and I acknowledge that. Your story is unique. But universal laws are universal. Principles are the same, regardless of the unique details of our situation. So, you know, part of it is balancing your nervous system. Yes, we hear a lot of talk about that, taking care of yourself physically and mentally and spiritually. And I can't say exactly what you personally need to do to get balance. I mean, without working with you personally, I would have to tune into your energies personally and know more about that. But I mean, I will tell you this, there's a couple of things. One thing in particular I'm thinking of that has really helped me stay in the flow of trusting, because a lot of abundance and having what you need has to do with trusting the universe and trusting. You know, it's been working with my guides, leaning into that relationship. I really noticed a difference bringing my problems and issues to them. If I have financial struggles, you can do that. And also related to Leo, the Leo eclipse, you know, connecting with your own passion, your own uniqueness. Leo has many dimensions, the sign. But one of the signs, you know, we think of it as the performer, and that's sort of like, you know, makes it sound fake. I would like to think of it like, yes, you can be performing, but it's more of you are expressing. It's a self-expression, okay? Expressing your creativity. How do you express? How do you manifest your own heart, your own passion? And listen, I know it's hard sometimes, but getting in touch with that in whatever small way you can. Mostly it's giving yourself permission. And a lot of us were not taught to give ourselves permission to pursue our passions. I'm talking about healthy passions here. I'm not talking about destructive things, addictions, things that hurt yourself or other people. To me, those are not true passions. Those are lower vibrations. Those are temptations. So some people who use more, you know, Christian type language, you might say it's, you know, temptation to sin. I don't necessarily use that language, but it is a temptation to go into the lower self. But we also all have positive passions. We have a calling, a stirring. It doesn't have to be about a job. It can be the connection to, you know, connect, to paint, to walk, to study something. I don't know. It's different for each person. There's so many. I've seen so many different passions that people have. And this is part of what this Leo energy is trying to reawaken. But you have to give yourself permission. And I don't know where you're watching from, but here in the United States, where I live, in many countries, I know, because of some of the negative parts of religion, and there's many positive, but there's also negative, modern religions, maybe ancient religions too, some of them, we've been taught that we're just garbage, basically. You know, that we're not good, we don't deserve good. That, you know, we have to worship a god or do this or that to deserve good. And that's really a limiting philosophy. Okay? I mean, if you want to believe it, I'm not saying you can't believe whatever you want, but think about whether your beliefs serve you, whether they are healthy, whether they serve you and your family. I mean, is this a belief you'd want to pass down to a child? You know, would you want to tell a child, well, you know, you can have your passion and you can follow your heart and your love, but first you have to be a slave to the machine? You know, that's just not healthy. I challenge that assumption. And I have not lived that assumption. I've lived the opposite. And yes, there is a place for being responsible, and there is a place for earning your keep and contributing. Yes, I think there is, many humans agree on that. But we don't have to start from the premise that you're not worth it. Let's start from the premise that you are worth following your passions and dreams. So this is one of the themes that have been coming to me when I've been meditating on this eclipse that's coming up. And again, that's exact on August 12th, 2026 at 20 degrees Leo. And of course, if you have your chart, you'll want to look at that. Now, I am a tropical astrologer. I have total respect for all forms of astrology. I am not a Vedic astrologer. I am not a siderealist. And, you know, I don't want to get into arguments about that, but I'll just tell you why I'm a tropical astrologer. Number one, it works for me. And I think that's always the most important. You practice the system that works for you. And it's worked for me since childhood. I've been able to make many predictions, see many things coming. I've been able to help many people, help myself with tropical astrology. Number two, I don't live in India. If I lived in India, I would probably be a Vedic astrologer. So that's why I say I have complete respect for it. And I do have strong spiritual connections, even past life memories with the ancient, quote unquote, Western civilizations, the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Romans too. My lifetimes there weren't always great, but I am connected spiritually. So yes, I hearken back in time to the star maps as they were using them. And I think even more importantly, I'm a naturalist, as some of you know who watch my other videos and follow my content. I'm into tuning into nature. I'm into the herbs, the green world, all of that. And I follow the seasons. The seasons are probably the most important component of my spiritual practice other than the movements of the moon, because the seasons, of course, are marked by the sun. And so my year begins at the spring equinox here in the northern hemisphere with the entrance of the sun into Aries. That is the beginning. So that is the tropical zodiac right there. Okay, that's why I follow that. I mean, I'm simplifying it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, tropical, Vedic, sidereal, then don't worry about it. You probably also follow tropical, and you know, you're led here for a reason, right? And by the way, you can practice whatever astrology you want. I also practice the Asian astrology, the Chinese animal astrology. Totally different system. They're all right in their own way, and they're all right at the right time. Okay? It's just about having the tool that you're called to. And maybe it's about a spiritual path. For me, it's a spiritual path. So some people are called to this path of astrology, and some people are called to another. And that's in your heart. That's not something you can, you know, intellectualize away or say, well, this is right and this is wrong. The heart knows what path is right. So just here, it seems like I've diverged, but really I haven't, because I'm demonstrating to you the energy of the Lion's Gate and of the eclipse in Leo. This is the kind of energy, the higher energy of Leo is of the heart. And it's a very intuitional energy. It's not just emotion, but it is passion and intuition, and you are to follow that. Now, you're being called to follow. You might feel, because, you know, it's a solar eclipse. Solar eclipses are not easy. So you might feel like you're in a pressure cooker right now. And we know, of course, that Leo is a fire sign. Now, it's in the middle of the fire signs. I think of it as a balanced fire energy. But if you look again seasonally, I know it's nice and green behind me. This tree does so good, and I have a lot of green, but we're scorching right now. I mean, actually, right now it's not too bad. I don't know if it's only 90 in the shade. I'm not sure, but it's going to be, they're saying at least 101 Fahrenheit here today. Let me see, converting that for those of you in Celsius, I don't know, you can look it up, but I think it's about 38 degrees Celsius. So it's hot, okay? And today is the cooler day, okay? So we definitely have the physical heat of the fire energy of Leo, and there is the spiritual heat. And what does heat do? Heat is friction. What is friction? Friction is the burning away of the dross, the burning away, again, of, you know, those parts of yourself that you need to let go of, those beliefs that tell you that you're not worth anything. Leo says, yes, I am worth something. That's what Leo's saying to you. You are worth following your higher path. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of help. Now, you might have some karma that complicates things. I'm going to acknowledge that. You know, the more baggage you're carrying, the harder it is. But you don't want to add to the baggage by having limiting beliefs about yourself. Okay, so I'm harping on this thing about seeing your worth because even though we think about Taurus as being, you know, connected to self-worth, and it is, but it's really in Leo that we start to honor and see our worth and to step out and shine your light. But it's hard to shine your light in the world if you don't see your worth just a little. Just a little. So you got to stop listening to all those voices that tell you you're not worth anything. And by the way, that's what keeps you from doing the things, really, that need to be done or going after them, because you don't think you're worth it. When you think you're worth your dreams, or when you think you're worth your abundance, or your health, or your love, or whatever it is, you will go after it. You will find a way. You will open up to the way. It will come to you, because that's the other thing about Leo energy. We always think about it being the center of attention and performing, and there's some truth to that. Leo teaches us about visibility, being willing to be visible. And again, you have to think you're worth something to be willing to be visible. But when we are visible, when you let your light shine, yes, there are risks. You know, there are risks. Some of the vampires, the energy vampires may come out. That's true. But there are many gifts, because when people see you and they are inspired by you, and they're inspired by your generosity of sharing, of being yourself, they're going to also give back to you. And vice versa. Who do we want to give to? Who do we want to be with? And by the way, it's not like just giving money or things. It's love, affection, sharing. You know, who doesn't want to have that in their lives? Really, at the end of the day, it's one of the most valuable things. Maybe the most valuable. I mean, health is great, but if you don't have someone to share it with, they're both wonderful, actually. And we get to the health in the next sign on the 22nd when Virgo enters, the sun enters Virgo. But we'll get there later, okay? For now, in the next few weeks ahead, for this whole month actually, because we're building up, you have the shadow before the eclipse, and you kind of have the after shadow for at least a couple weeks before, well, after is after. So you have a couple weeks before, a couple weeks after. It's a great catalyst. It's clearing out those old beliefs, anything that's standing in the way of you shining your light. Some things may have to go. This is an eclipse of endings. It's a new moon eclipse. So it's a clearing out, even though normally we start new things on the new moon. And you might start some things. Listen, if you've been thinking about starting something for a while, that's fine. It's a little bit like Mercury retrograde. You don't, go off on a wild new plan during Mercury retrograde, but you can continue forward with things that you've been thinking about doing, or even especially things you've already started. So that's fine, but just know there'll be a lot of clearing. And there have to be doors closing and endings. And listen, if you haven't been on, I'm going to use the word a healthy karmic path for yourself, if you've been on a path of self-destruction, this eclipse will probably bring that up to the surface, especially because we also have Saturn retrograde. So this is like a double dose of karma. Saturn karma, and then retrogrades are all about resolving karma. So yeah, if you've been, you know, doing things that are out of alignment with your soul's will, with your soul's true being, then there will likely be some repercussions. And it's like the yin and the yang. When you meditate on that and you study it and you just really interact with it spiritually, you can see that what happens is when we go to one extreme, if you go to one extreme of yang, if you're acting out in self-destruction, that's the extreme of yang, right? Something will happen to pull you back in towards the yin. I mean, a lot of times people end up immobilized in some way. They lose their car or their job or their housing, or they might even go to jail if they've been particularly acting out in a destructive way. It doesn't even have to be totally, like criminal or anything like that. I mean, it could just be you've been running yourself down. Again, the way to evaluate this isn't according to someone else's opinion or some religion. It's whether you've been acting harmoniously in accord with your soul's will, with your soul plan, or against it. And you can usually tell. I'm not saying everything is easy when you act in your soul's plan. In fact, sometimes it is not. And that's where, tapping into the strength of Leo, the will. You do have to be persistent sometimes. You do have to be what some call stubborn, strong. And it's good to feed your strength, however you do that. Whatever your practices are, you need to have practices. I like prayer, meditation, yoga, and Tai Chi, drumming. I have many practices. So whatever yours are, just lean into it. But yeah, if you notice a pattern of destruction that you can tell you're causing, I would stop now. I would turn back and just take a rest, actually. I know you can't just go from self-destruction to self-upliftment. It's just too much of a swing. But what you can do is pause. You can freeze in place, rest some, regroup, and then start turning back more towards what some would call the positive. I would just call it the aligned path. So yeah, it might be challenging to stay aligned with this eclipse energy, but that is the challenge. That's what you're being asked to do. Alrighty, well, I've talked a lot about this. I hope you found it helpful. And if you'd like to know more about how these energies are personally affecting you, I would recommend that you book either a psychic session with me, a spiritual psychic session, or a guiding star astrology reading. Okay. And of course, check in with your guides, meditate, ask them how the energies will personally be affecting you. Alrighty, until next time, I'm Psychic Cynthia, and I'm sending you much cosmic love and bright blessings.